When Four Against Darkness came out, I was really resistant to it for some reason. I don't really know why. I think maybe it had to do with resistant to creating four characters and managing that solo. I was also, and still am, as you know, into D100 Dungeon. Not that there's an opposition between the two of them, but I felt that offered what I needed out of a pen and paper dungeon crawl kind of scenario. And so much so that I never bought the Four Against Darkness book in physical form, even though that's physical form is mostly how I prefer to play things. If you watch my channel, you know I very rarely use just PDFs, and I never bought the Four Against Darkness book, and I still haven't bought it. I have this 3-ring binder, and I just have a few of the supplements. I'm not really that into it. However, I do enjoy the system, and I found out recently that one of my favorite physical components, which are cards, was coming to or had come to the Four Against Darkness world in the form of these card decks. And I'm going to show you, I have 3 of them here. They are different adventures that you can play, and I am going to go through, I'm going to show you them a little bit so you'll see the inside of the cards to show how this actually works. I do want to point out it's the Four Against Dungeon deck, and their rules we'll talk about. They're pretty easy. I want to show you the credits here because this designer, Alexey Aparin, I'm sorry, I don't know how to pronounce your last name, actually. I apologize for that, has been featured on my channel before. He is the creator of the Pocket Lands geomorph cards, and if you've watched my channel, I have 3 decks of those. I think there may be more. These are the Kingdom cards, and they give you different geographical locations and options, and then there's a terrain key that you can use. There are also some basic overland travel rules, and I do have a video featuring these cards, at least one video. I'll put the link up hopefully right here and also below if you want to find out more about these. But I absolutely love these cards. I use them often, and when I noticed, I can't remember what called my attention to the fact that there's a card mechanic now as a supplement to Four Against Darkness, and I was thrilled when I realized that Alexey was involved in it because I like his work so much on the Pocket Lands cards, and I thank him for making these decks available to me to show to you. So, what do we have here? Well, we have just another way to play and interact with Four Against Darkness. The Four Against Dungeon deck, it plays just like a regular 4AD dungeon, but instead of rolling on tables, you're going to be drawing these cards. And you can see the card, when we get into the cards, you'll see they're multi-use. So you simply just go through the deck to determine the first room and then continue on based on whether it's a card or a room, and in effect following along with what you might do here. If you play along this game, you'll recognize the sheet from the book with the chart of what you do and when you encounter either a room or a card, and that's essentially what the cards are going to be doing for you. I think there are more than just these 3 decks available here, but I have these 3 to show you a little bit. They're a little bit different. This is the Curse of Castle Ravenstein, and it's for levels 1 to 4, and you have your specific mission, your story here, and an explanation of how the game will function and what happens. So the locations in this deck are keyed to the story, and each deck also comes with some special boss monsters as well as a couple of special items that you can collect along the way. And we'll show you the cards here, or at least some of them. You would start by flipping over, shuffling your cards, flipping it over, and determining the location that you're in. And this is clearly going to be a carder, so that when you go to the next card, you then would follow what is on the section for Carter, which says combat. So then you would go to the next card and you would go to the combat section and you would be encountering this flesh golem. And you would have the description here and then you would move on. I mean, that's in effect how these how these cards work. Obviously, there's some replay value and variability because you could shuffle them up. I don't know, I would like a mathematician or someone to say how many likely options there could possibly be with the number of cards in the deck. So you have 2, 4, you've got 12 cards with these sections on them. And so it's not infinitely replayable, but it is definitely variable enough. And obviously you could certainly run different parties through the same thing. What's nice about them is, so Roads of Peril is going to be different. This was a classic, obviously in reference to classic modules. This is a classic kind of Gothic-ish dungeon crawly kind of thing. But with Roads of Peril, we have something different here. With Roads of Peril, we're in a town with no available work, and there's a merchant wagon leaving the town today, so we're going to be escorting it, visiting 5 settlements to get some money, and then there's this optional mission if we want to turn dark and slay the highwaymen, leader, bosses, and return to town to get some more money. And there's a special rule here for the terrain that you would encounter, which is the road here, for example, and with a little rule there, and how you can do some pathfinding to find the settlement by spending some clues that you will find. So and again, also this deck comes with some bosses and some rewards that you could obtain. The terminology, clues, and such will be familiar to you if you play and have played this game, and also again levels 1 to 4 for this adventure. And then the last one that I have to show you is an outdoor adventure, Forest of the Spider Queen, and the special rules on this one: you are tasked with paving the way through the woods, clearing a path to all 4 sides of the sheet that's your drawing sheet, to gain your money from the locals. And it explains here that a room is a clearing and a corridor is a path, and there are some special attributes if you're running wood elves or rangers or druids, conservationists, and wilderness guides. They count as foresters for this adventure. And these classes, I don't know where the conservationists and wilderness guides come in. I do know the wood elves, rangers, and druids, these come in various booklets, and I think I don't know if the base game has rangers or not. I can't remember that. I don't think so. Anyway, some special rules for trees to cut your way through, and some water, and then there is a special spider card here that is going to come up more often than a random wandering monster, which was thematic, obviously, to going through this external area. And you could see what the terrain is going to look like here. And we have some water, and of course, outside types of encounters and locations are in the Forest of the Spider Queen. Again, also levels 1 to 4. I think for me, I absolutely love cards as a supplement or an accessory to gaming, and indeed I'm going to very soon be doing I just got a new deck of cards for a video I'm going to be doing. I'm just going to show you these. This has nothing to do with 4 Against Darkness, but sort of cool. These cards that are going to be featured in a video I have coming up. This is a regular deck of cards with a sort of Gothic design, and I just love the concept of having cards in videos, and excuse me, I love the concept of having cards in games. And I think for 4 Against Darkness, the notion of having different settings and a lot of different low-level kinds of settings is sort of nice, because you can just put together different characters and run them through and see how they play differently for your party. One of the things with 4 Against Darkness that I've noticed as I've picked it up and put it down and picked it up and put it down over the time that I've had the game is I keep wanting to play with different characters, and having different options for doing that for low-level parties is nice, as opposed to, I do have the Four Against the Abyss for the higher level, and I think I have run one party through for levels 5 to 9. I enjoy that as well, and that obviously brings in more of the, I don't want to say strategy because it always remains a light game, but decision making and depth to the game if you get them to a higher level. But I think having options to just create different characters and see how they interact and really get into the feel of the party and keeping it light is where the game shines for me. And Four Against the Dungeon deck is a new way of experiencing the game, and maybe for some people would be a preferred way of getting into the game, because you can, I like the idea that you can go right away outside to a different kind of area. One of my stopping points when I first got the game and I only had the base game was it just felt a little bit repetitive to continue to work with just what was in the base book. And this being for levels 1 to 4 is a very easy supplement to buy, and they're available from drive-through cards. I'll put the link down below to stick with just the base game and not have to invest a ton, but have different environments and different kinds of encounters for your party.